is there any argument of substance made at all over there other than you're just all racist? Is there anything that you have to do your homework on, you got to research an angle to and reacting to, or is every argument just everything's racist?
Well, every argument is everything's racist. Literally every single day, every issue, every bill is brought up through the lens of race. Today, we're debating D.C. statehood. And on the floor of the House of Representatives, numerous members of the other side of the aisle kept coming up and saying, this is all about race. This is all about race. Like, they're the ones talking about race. We're talking about the fact that the Constitution said we should have a capital city. We created a capital city. It's not a state. It's never been a state. It shouldn't be a state. And as I said on the floor, it's not going to be a state. It would be unconstitutional to do this by statute. The left knows this, but they perpetuate it because they want to make this about race. They want to say this is somehow about disenfranchisement, when in fact, this is about trying to protect the Constitution. Look, unlike my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, let me be a little gracious here and say all of us want to make sure that the full purpose of the Voting Rights Act is realized. When the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965, it was done so on the back of data that was patently obvious of discrimination against Black Americans, and they used data that demonstrated that. At the time, I'm going to pull this from my head, roughly 29% of Black voters were registered, Black Americans were registered to vote, I think that's the stat. By the time they reauthorized the Voting Rights Act in 2006, that number had gone up in multiple jurisdictions, but around 69, 70, 72%. And those numbers were higher in covered jurisdictions under the Voting Rights Act than in non-covered jurisdictions. And I can nerd out on the policy as much as you want. My main point of all of this is there are times where we try to work with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to ensure that the spirit and the intent of the Voting Rights Act is carried out. But my colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't want to do that. Mike Lee, in his exchange with Dick Durbin, was pointing out it was Republicans who passed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. It was Republicans who forced ahead to get the 64 and 65 Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts done. I know LBJ was in office, but it was Republicans. And it is Democrats who perpetuate race baiting. It is Democrats who want to keep this issue as a divisive issue and don't want us to come together. They don't want to see a Black leader from North Carolina sitting in a hearing saying, I don't believe that voter ID laws are somehow racist. He's saying voter ID laws are important. And he told the story of his father-in-law, I think he said, I don't want to misquote that, but of somebody he was close to, who had been in jail for a long time, many, many years. And when he got out, the first thing he did was go get a driver's license. And this was the point. It's like, just go get a driver's license, go vote. And we have so many provisions in our laws to give people access to voter ID that's government provided, that has your address on it, so we know who you are, and it's not discriminatory. But they want to make it discriminatory.